Iran's latest strike has trapped Prime Minister Netanyahu in a corner, as Israelis brace themselves for a looming crisis, facing potential shortages in both food supplies and electricity across the nation. Following Iran's powerful assault on Israel's key coastal port, the heart of its oil infrastructure has been thrown into chaos, paralyzing vital fuel exports. Cities across Israel could soon plunge into darkness, with widespread power outages on the horizon and major industries preparing to grind to a halt. A new alarm bell rings for Israelis tonight, after Iran's missile barrage crippled the strategic port that handles most of the country's essential food imports. Despite growing domestic unease and pressure from economic fallout, Prime Minister Netanyahu continues his aggressive war path, as Israel begins to feel the biting cost of conflict. Israel's once thriving energy export revenues now face a catastrophic collapse, with Iran's precision strikes hitting the bullseye, threatening to erase billions from the country's oil and gas income. Israel now appears to be beginning to pay the steep economic price of its prolonged and costly war with Iran, as the impact of continued hostilities starts to ripple through its energy and industrial sectors. Reports suggest that operations at two of Israel's major natural gas fields have been suspended indefinitely due to growing security fears, marking a serious setback for the country's energy production. According to a report by Press TV on March 10th, the suspension was triggered by rising concerns over potential Iranian retaliation, forcing authorities to take emergency precautions to prevent attacks. Activities at both the Leviathan gas field and the Karish gas field have been brought to a complete stop, with multiple reports confirming that operations have been frozen until further notice. Energy companies have been compelled to evacuate personnel from the offshore sites and halt all drilling and extraction work, prioritizing safety over production amid increasing threats. The Leviathan field, notably the largest natural gas reserve in the entire eastern Mediterranean region, stands as a critical pillar of Israel's energy independence and export economy. Discovered in 2010, Leviathan lies about 130 kilometers west of the Israeli port city of Haifa, a location that has now become a potential frontline in the ongoing conflict. On March 10th, Haifa itself was struck in what Iran described as the 33rd wave of missile and drone attacks, marking an escalation in Tehran's pressure campaign against Israeli infrastructure. Significantly, Haifa Port is regarded as the backbone of Israel's food security, handling nearly 75% of all national imports in 2023, making it a critical target and a major vulnerability in the conflict. Economic analysts told the Israeli newspaper, quote, "Gas field shutdown could lead to power outages. Energy-intensive industries could be suspended. And sharp decline in gas exports to Jordan and Egypt possible," unquote. Jordan continues to depend heavily on Israeli gas imports, which reportedly generate nearly 80% of the kingdom's total electricity supply, a crucial reliance now at risk amid the widening regional tensions. Interestingly, this development comes just as Iran begins tightening its strategic grip over the Strait of Hormuz, heightening fears of another energy crisis across the Middle East. The Strait of Hormuz, located off the southern coast of Iran, serves as a vital choke point through which nearly 1/5 of the world's total oil consumption flows every single day. On March 9th, the US president issued a stern warning to Iran, cautioning Tehran against any attempt to block oil shipments belonging to US allies or Western-linked countries passing through the strait. That same day, US President Donald Trump went a step further, threatening that America would forcibly take control of the strait if Iran, in his words, tries anything cute, according to a report by CBS News. Trump's tough warning followed immediately after global market scare, when crude oil prices briefly surged to their highest level since the year 2022, sending shockwaves through energy markets. In response to growing threats, the US military carried out a major operation on March 10th, targeting and eliminating 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels spotted near the Strait of Hormuz. The operation followed multiple intelligence reports suggesting that Iranian naval units were actively laying explosive sea mines in the area, a move that could have crippled one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Trump had earlier said that any mines placed by Iran in or near the Strait of Hormuz will be located and removed immediately, underscoring Washington's firm stance on securing the global oil corridor.
President Trump fully expected the rogue Iranian regime to try and disrupt the global markets. That's why President Trump and his energy team have been planning for this long before the strike and have moved quickly to address these temporary disruptions. Thus far, the Trump administration has offered political risk insurance to tankers operating in the Gulf. The president and his energy team are closely watching the markets, speaking with industry leaders, and the U.S. military is drawing up additional options following the president's directive to continue keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. I will not broadcast what those options look like, but just know the president is not afraid to use them. Rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term. Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly, potentially even lower than they were prior to the start of the operation. And we will live in a world where Iran can no longer threaten the United States or our allies with a nuclear bomb.
Can you explain why the Energy Secretary posted and then appeared to have deleted a post on X saying that the U.S. Navy escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz?
Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the president has said he will absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
In terms of oil sanctions, the president said that there would be some sanctions. What that would be lifted? Would those be on Venezuela, Russia? Could you give some specifics there and then timing for that as well?
Sure. I know it's something that the Treasury Department and the president's energy team continue to discuss, and they will ultimately consult with the president before decisions are made. I don't have any announcements on new sanctions or the lifting of new sanctions for you today.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.